Hello everybody. Once again, I welcome you all in my YouTube channel, and today I will be discussing the first chapter of Class 7 Science NCERT, which is Nutrition in Plants. So before moving ahead, firstly, I would like to discuss the content of the chapter. Here we will be covering the topics such as Introduction, Mode of Nutrition in Plants, Photosynthesis, other mode of nutrition in plants, how nutrients are replenished in the soil. At the last, we'll talk about the concept map. Here we will be discussing about the importance of the mind map. So let us move ahead to a picture. Yes, this is a picture. So here you can see there are 5 characters in this image. So what you need to do? You need to tell me who will be eaten by whom. So come on, it's so simple. It's a mental exercise for us. So plant will be eaten by the caterpillar. Caterpillar will be eaten by the frog. And the frog will be eaten by the snake. And obviously snake will be eaten by the owl. So see, plant is giving food to all. The plant is the producer and rest all are dependent for their food to the others. So that is why they are the consumer. So what happens if there is no plants in the earth? So we will not get the food to eat. As you know, we are getting our food from the plants and the animals. So like us, plants also need food for their growth and nourishment. So let's talk about the nutrition in plants. So all living organisms such as plants and animals require food. So food is essential for all. From where do we get food? Yes, we get food from the plants. So plants are capable of making their food by themselves, but human and animals cannot. Carbohydrates, protein, fats, vitamins and minerals are essential components of food, or you can say they are called the nutrients. So these all are the nutrients which is very important for us to get the good health. So for the better understanding, let's take one more examples for eating habit. Frog. Here you can see the frog, grasshopper and grass. The frog will eat the grasshopper and grasshopper will eat the grass. Here tiger will eat the cow and cow will eat the grass. So these all are the interconnected to each other. So let's discuss more about where the plant get their food. See, what is this? This is the picture of the kitchen where your mother cooks food for you, right? But here we will talk about the plant's kitchen. So let us discuss about the nutrition in plants. What is nutrition? Nutrition can be defined as a process by which organisms take in the food and utilize it in order to survive. So based on the mode of nutrition, organisms can be divided into 2 categories, which is autotropic organism and heterotrophic organism. So what is the autotrophs? Let's get the meaning. So auto means self and mean nourishment. So you can define as, so the organism which can prepare their food by themselves are called the autotrophs. And you can take the example of the plant, because plant is able to make their own food. So that is why plant is said to be a autotrophs. But heterotrophs, hetero means other and trophs means nourishment. So they depend upon the organism for their food, such as animals. So animals comes in the category of heterotrophs. So let us see how the plant will make their own food. Here you can see plant is getting light from the sun and carbon dioxide from atmosphere, and plant is also getting water from soil. So plant is said to be a autotroph. So let us talk in detail about the autotopic nutrition in plants. As you know, auto means self and trops means nourishment. So see, if you know the meaning of the term, so you can write your very own definition. So no need to learn it if you will aware about the meanings. So first you should know about the meaning of the term. So autotrophic nutrition is a process where the organism prepares their food from the simple inorganic materials like water, mineral, salts and carbon dioxide in the presence of what? In the presence of sunlight. So the food making process is having a particular name. Can you guess? Yes, this is known as the photosynthesis. So what is the meaning of the photosynthesis? Yes, photo means light and synthesis means to make food. So the process by which green plants make their own food from water and carbon dioxide in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll is known as the photosynthesis. And in photosynthesis process it releases oxygen also. So we can show this process with the equation also. So here we have the equation 6 CO2 plus 6 H2O in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, C6H12O6 plus 6 O2. And you can write this equation in the simple form like carbon dioxide plus water, make a arrow and write in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, then it produces what? It produces the glucose as their food and it also releases oxygen, right, which is necessary for us to breathe. The food is prepared by the green leaves of a plant in the form of the simple sugar which is called the glucose. The extra glucose, what happened with the extra glucose? Is changed into the another food called the starch. The extra glucose will convert into the starch. This starch is stored in the leaves of the plants. The green plants convert sunlight energy into the chemical energy by making carbohydrates. So we will see the image. Okay, here what happened? You can see that plant is getting sunlight. Plant is also getting carbon dioxide and H2O which is known as the water from the soil. So C6H12O6 is a glucose which is a food of the plants, and a plant also release oxygen in the atmosphere. So like us, plant can breathe, okay, as like we breathe. But what is the difference between our breathing and plant's breathing? Plant takes carbon dioxide and it releases oxygen, and we take oxygen and we release carbon dioxide. Okay, so is there particular parts of the plant is required for the photosynthesis? Yes, on the leaves of the plant, okay, the photosynthesis occurs, and in leaves there are small cell organelles which is called the chloroplast, and in the chloroplast there is a green color pigment which is called the chlorophyll, and chlorophyll trap the sunlight and it convert the sunlight into the chemical energy. So this is a very important process of plants to make their food. So the photosynthesis takes place in the following three steps. So what are the steps? Let's see. First steps will be the absorption of sunlight energy by the chlorophyll. So first it will trap the sunlight energy with the help of the chlorophyll. Then conversion of light energy into chemical energy and splitting of water into hydrogen and oxygen by light energy. So what happened? It converts the light energy into chemical energy by splitting of water molecule. So water molecule is made up with the hydrogen and oxygen. So it breaks the water molecule into the oxygen and hydrogen. Then the third step is reduction of carbon dioxide by hydrogen to form carbohydrates like glucose by utilizing the chemical energy. It also reduces carbon dioxide by the hydrogen, and it forms carbohydrate, which is food of the plants. So here we have few conditions also which is compulsory for the photosynthesis. So the conditions necessary for the photosynthesis are sunlight, chlorophyll, carbon dioxide and water, or you can say these all are the ingredients and recipe of the photosynthesis. So let's discuss about the more. So the plants also require the raw material, which is carbon dioxide and water. So what is the nutrition in plants? As we discussed, okay, so there are a large number of tiny pores which is called the stomata on the surface of the leaves of the plants. So stomata is present on the surface of the leaves. So the carbon dioxide gas enters the leaves of the plant through the stomata present on their surface. So each stomatal pore is surrounded by a pair of guard cells. The opening and closing stomatal pores is controlled by the guard cells. So it is having very important function. It has two main functions. Mainly they are allow for gaseous exchange and act as an entryway for the carbon dioxide, and it release the oxygen that we breathe. So the other function is regulating water movement through the transpiration process. So what does the stomata is responsible for the gaseous exchange as well as it's also regulate the transpiration. Okay, it's also regulate the water movement. What happened when the water, it absorb the water, it will swell up, the guard cell will swell up, and it looks like a bean. Okay, the structure is bean like. So when it absorb water, it swell up, it will open, and when it release the water, it will contract and it will close. So it look like a gate. Okay, and it's an entryway also. That is why it is called the entryway, where they can allow the gases to pass through. Okay, so did you know plants also breathe through their leaves? Let's talk about it. So how the plants obtain water for the photosynthesis? The water is required by the plants for photosynthesis is absorbed by the root of the plants from the soil through the process of what? So osmosis. So osmosis is the process by which the plants absorb water through their roots. So the water absorbed by the roots of the plant is transported upward through the xylem vessels to the leaves, where it reaches the photosynthetic cells. So the plants also need other raw material such as nitrogen, phosphorus, iron and magnesium for body building their body. So the plants take these material from the soil. Nitrogen is essential element used by the plants to make proteins and other compound. So for the growth, it is necessary to take a good amount of the nitrogen. So without the nitrogen, plant cannot grow well. So that's why this is very important. Here you can see the transportation, how the root transport water and minerals to the leaves via stem and branches. So do you know why leaves are having green color? Yes, let's talk. As you know, the site of the photosynthesis is chloroplast, which is present on the leaves. So photosynthesis takes place in the leaves of the plants. Leaves have green pigment called chlorophyll. It helps leaves to capture the energy of sunlight, which is then used to prepare food from carbon dioxide and water. As you know, carbon dioxide and water is the raw material which is needed by the plant to make their recipe, make their food. So here you can say the solar energy is captured by the leaves and it is stored in the plant in the form of food. So who is going to trap? The chlorophyll will trap the sunlight energy and it convert the sunlight energy into the chemical energy. We can say that the sun is the ultimate source of the energy for all living organisms. So what is the role of the chlorophyll? The role of the chlorophyll in photosynthesis is vital. So chlorophyll, which reside in the chloroplast of the plant, is the green pigment that is necessary in order for plant to convert sunlight energy into the chemical energy. It captures the sunlight and convert it into the carbohydrate, or you can say in the energy, which allows the plant to grow. So can you tell me that photosynthesis takes place in other parts of the plant also? Yes. Green stem and branches of the plant can also undergo the process of the photosynthesis. For example, cactus. Have you seen the cactus plant? In the cactus plants, they don't have leaves, but they are having the stems. So they still exist because their stem produces the food for the plants. So what is the process of photosynthesis? It is very important. There will be no food if the plants would stop conducting photosynthesis. So by the photosynthesis, plants get their food, and if the plant get their food, then we can also get the food from the plant. So what will happen if the plant do not have the chlorophyll? Let us discuss. So other mode of nutrition in plants, which is heterotrophic. So most of the plants have green pigment called chlorophyll and can make their own food. But some plants do not have chlorophyll and it cannot synthesize their own food and are known as the heterotrophs. Means heterotrophs, here there are a major difference between autotroph and heterotroph. In autotroph, chlorophyll is required, but in the heterotroph, no need of the chlorophyll. So this type of nutrition can be categorized into following, like parasitic mode of nutrition, insectivorous mode of nutrition, saprophytic mode of nutrition, and symbiotic mode of nutrition. So let us now explain these modes in detail. First is the parasitic mode. In the parasitic mode of nutrition, plants depend on other plants or animals for their nourishment. Such as dependent plants are called the parasites. So the plants which is dependent to the other plant is known as the parasite, and the ones on which parasite depend are called the host. A parasite plant climbs on the host plant, from which they get all the food. The host does not get any benefit from the parasite. Some of the example of the parasite are Cascuta, which is known as the Akash bale, Casita, which is known as the Amar bale. Hookworm, tapeworm, leeches are also the good example of the parasite. So here you can see the image of the Cascuta plant and Casida plant. So this is the very good examples. Why? This is very common examples of the parasitic plants. So let us talk about the insectivorous plants. So the insectivorous mode of nutrition, as you know the name insectivorous, means insects eating plants, is known as the insectivorous plants. So the insectivorous mode of nutrition is observed in the plants like pitcher plant and Venus flytrap. So both are the very common example of the insectivorous plants. So these types of plants purely depend on other insects and small animals for their nutrition. Pitcher plants trap small insect inside the pitcher, and insects are digested by the digestive juices secreted in the pitcher. So insectivorous plants grow in those soils which do not contain sufficient nitrogen minerals. So these types of plants are green and carry out photosynthesis to obtain a part of the food. So even the plant is having the green color, but they do not have the nutrients like nitrogen, which is very important for their growth, and their soil is not having this kind of nutrient. So for to fulfill the requirement of the nitrogen, they eat insect. You can see the picture, Venus flytrap. Here it is there are two parts in the leaf, and between the two parts there is a hinge. So what happens if the fly well sits on the Venus flytrap? The leaves will close, and it also secretes the digestive juices. Let's discuss in detail. So the leaves of the Venus flytrap have stiff hair-like projection, as you have seen, on their edge, and the entire leaf is divided into two parts, with the middle acting as a hinge. When an insect sits on the leaf, it shuts tightly and trapping the insect inside it. So the pitcher plant has a pitcher shaped structure. So what is the pitcher? What is the meaning of the pitcher shape? It's a pot-like structure which is filled with the liquid. It has a flap-like structure on its mouth, or you can say it has a lid. So the edge of the opening of the pitcher is slippery. It is very sticky. So the insect that sits on it slips and falls into the pitcher directly, and getting trapped inside with the closing of the lid. It acts like a bottle. Okay, so the Sandia plants. Let us see the Sandia plants. The Sandia plants has long needles-like structure called tentacles, so covered with the sticky substance called the mucus. Once an insect sits on it, it gets caught into the mucus, and the tentacles fold inward and trapping the insects. So these all are the way that the plants eats insect, by secreting what? By secreting the sticky substance or digestive juices which digest the insects. So here we have the saprotrophic nutrition also. So the mode of the nutrition in which organism or plants that obtain their food from dead and decaying organic matter is called the saprophytic mode, or you can say sapro means rotten and trops means nourishment. So they also feed on the digestive juices like the insectivorous plants. The plants which exhibit saprotrophic mode of nutrition are called the saprotrophs. Saprotrophs secrete digestive juices onto dead and decaying matter to dissolve it and then absorb nutrient from it. So examples of saprotrophs are the molds, mushroom, yeast, and some bacteria. They grows on the dead and decay matter. Okay, and they secrete the digestive juices and convert the rotten material into the nutrients, and they eat as their food. So here mushroom and molds, these all are the good example of the saprotrophs. Then we'll talk about the symbiotic relationship. It's a mutual relationship, and they form a mutual relationship for their nourishment. In this mode of nutrition, there is a close association with two different plants of different categories. In such type of association, both the plants get benefited. For example, certain fungi live in the roots of the trees. In this case, trees provides nutrient to fungi and in return receive help from it to take up water and nutrients from the soil. So both are helping to each other, both are dependent to each other for their food as well as the shelter also. So that's why this is called the mutual understanding. So here we have the example of the symbiotic. So let us talk about how nutrients are replenished in the soil, or you can say replenish means refill or recharge. So how nutrients are recharged in the soil? We know that plants continuously take nutrients from the soil in order to synthesize food. As a result of this, amount of nutrients in the soil decreases. So nutrients in the soil are replenished by adding fertilizer and manure. So fertilizer and manure contain plant nutrient and mineral like nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. So we can balance the nutrients into the soil by adding manure and fertilizer, because they provide the nutrients and minerals to the soil. So another way to replenish soil is to grow leguminous crop, for example gram, peas, pulses in the soil. So the bacterium called the rhizobium can take atmospheric nitrogen and convert it into a soluble form. As you know, there are 78% nitrogen in the atmosphere, but plant cannot take it directly from the atmosphere in the gaseous form. They want the soluble form of the nitrogen, so they need help. So what happened, the rhizobium bacteria convert the nitrogen into the soluble form for the plants. So now the plant can take it easily. So but the rhizobium cannot make its own food. So rhizobium do not make its own food. So it is dependent on the other plant. So it lives in the root of the gram, peas, mung, beans and other legumes and provide them with nitrogen, and in return they get food and shelter to the bacteria. The plants give the food and shelter. So here I have a very important question which is frequently asked in the exams. The difference between autotopic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. So there are few difference. Okay. First is the food is prepared from carbon dioxide, water and sunlight in the autotroph, but in the heterotroph food is obtained from the other organism directly. In the heterotroph they do not need to cook their food, they get their food from the other animal. Autotopic mode, chlorophyll is required, but in the heterotrophic mode chlorophyll is not required. In the autotrophs, all green plants and some bacteria have this type of nutrition. And in the heterotrophs, all animals and fungi have this type of nutrition. So food is obtained generally in the daytime during the autotroph. But in the heterotroph, food cannot be obtained. Food can be, or you can say, food do not have any particular time. Food can be easily obtained at all time, right? So as you know, plant is conducting two important processes, which is the photosynthesis and transpiration. Transpiration, you can say into a simple word like breathing. Okay, breathing is the process in the plants which is known as the transpiration. So let us summarize our content with the help of the mind map. So what is the mind map? Do you know? Let us discuss what is the role of the mind map in education. Mind maps helps the student to organize their ideas and understand the concept better. It enhances thinking and learning skill of the student. So here you can see the image of the mind map, but I kept it blurred for you all. So do you know why? Because you need to draw your very own mind map about the chapter. After watching this video, you need to draw your own mind map, but do not copy it from somewhere. Okay, you can simply make a flow chart of your concept which you got from the lesson. Like first you need to draw a line. Okay, divide the line into the two parts. One will be the plant nutrition and another will be the mode of nutrition. In the plant nutrition section, just draw one more line and make few lines about the definition of the photosynthesis, required material of this photosynthesis, then what else plants needed for the growth, and in the mode of nutrition section write the definition of the heterotrophs, then examples, animals and non-green plants. Fungi also comes into the autotrophs, right? And write other mode like parasites, saprotrophs, insectivorous and symbiotic. So like this you can arrange in the form of the flow chart. So this is the mind map. So like this you can make your concept, you can summarize your concept well. So I hope it does help you in some way to ignite your knowledge. That's all for the day. So bye bye, take care, keep watching and keep learning. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you.